Judy McCoy Carman is a Kansas-based author and activist for animal rights, environmental protection, and world peace. Since the 1970s, when she became vegetarian and then vegan after learning about the cruelty in dairy and eggs, Judy has helped establish activist organizations. In 2003, Judy published Peace to All Beings, Veggie Soup for the Chicken Soul. In 2009, she co-authored The Missing Piece, The Hidden Power of Our Kinship with Animals. And in 2014, she received the Henry Spira Grassroots Animal Activist Award for Outstanding Contribution to Animal Liberation. Judy's a member of the In Defense of Animals Sustainable Activism Council, and her new book, Homo Ahimsa, Who We Really Are and How We're Going to Save the World, has just been released. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today, Judy.
Oh, thanks, Janine. It's wonderful to be here. I'm honored that you would include me on your wonderful show. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's because of folks like you that it's a wonderful podcast series. So, and I'm really interested to know your journey to veganism. You know, that was a while ago. It's like a lifetime of activism already, but I can't imagine you were probably born into an omnivorous environment like so many of us. How did you first step onto that pathway to veganism?
Yeah, like most of us really in the world, it was the typical sad diet, and actually it was just kind of getting started. I was born in 1944, which is the same year that the word vegan was coined, so I'm very proud of that. However, I didn't hear that word for a long time. But yeah, I had two uncles who ran the Kansas City stockyards, and that was a point of pride for our family. My dad was a big game hunter. He shot hundreds of animals, elephants, giraffes, wolves from plains. He was a wonderful man in many ways and a great surgeon, but he was also a big game hunter. And so I grew up with heads on the walls, a polar bear rug on the floor, all sorts of things like that. And, but I loved animals. I think almost every child does. And so it was this split, you know, but it never really clicked until we moved to a little 7-acre piece of land, and my parents got sheep. And I thought, oh, these are for me, my new friends. And they had babies, and it was wonderful, and I loved them. And then one day I came home from school. I was about 10 or 11, and the sheep were all gone, and the pasture was empty. And I said, where did the sheep go? Well, they just went away. And then a few days later, we were eating something that was called leg of lamb, and it made me think, wait, lamb, sheep. And that's when it clicked in my head that we were eating animals. And I didn't want to do it ever again, but I didn't know how to not do it, because the rest of the meal was mostly potatoes and peas and things like that. And so I got pretty malnourished. I didn't tell my parents. I just kind of didn't eat the meat and fed it to the dogs and that sort of thing. And so, but I got very malnourished, and I kind of filled my calorie thing up with donuts. Not a good idea. And frosted flakes. So anyway, then I thought, well, I guess you do have to eat meat. And so I did, until I became an adult and I started learning about vegetarianism. What a concept. And at that time, this would have been in the 60s and early 70s, the health food stores had vitamins in them, but there wasn't any organic produce or anything like we have now. I think there might have been 2 or 3 vegetarian cookbooks. And so I learned a lot about vegetarian cooking by going to an Indian restaurant that was in Kansas City at the time, and started kind of making some of those dishes, and then just going, oh, I just leave the meat out and make, spaghetti and sauce and all that stuff. And but I think I kind of substituted dairy and eggs for the protein. Somehow in my mind, it was like we were helping the cows out, because they made so much milk. They had extra. And the chickens, they couldn't possibly raise all those little chicks. So somehow we were helping. And so I closed my mind to that for a long time. And but you can only do that for so long and be an animal activist, because pretty soon you start learning what really goes on behind closed doors for the chickens and the cows and the baby cows that are taken away from the mothers, and the crying that goes on because they miss each other, they want to be together, and then realizing we're stealing that milk from that baby to drink and make into ice cream and all this stuff, sauces and whatnot. So I guess about 25 years ago or so, we went vegan, and that was that. And it wasn't hard for us because we've been vegetarian for so long. I understand that it's hard for people who are just learning all this, and they decide, okay, I want to go vegan, but what do I do, So it is a process, and I applaud everybody that is on that journey. And, be patient with yourself, and take time to learn how to eat healthfully, because we need to stay healthy in order to take care of the animals, to create a vegan world. So, so be healthy. I said spaghetti. We don't eat a lot of spaghetti now. We're much more whole food, plant-based, not a lot of processed food. And so, but that's a process also, learning all those things. So yes, be patient with yourselves, and thank you, anyone who is listening and has decided to go vegan. You are doing the world a great service, and the animals a great service, and all people and the environment. So yeah, it's the most important thing anyone can do. So so that's kind of my story.
Yeah, and I mean, it's certainly a lot easier now than it was back in those days, right? Even I've been vegan for 20 years only, and there certainly was no almond milk or cashew milk or milkademia or any of these. So now there's websites and cookbooks and YouTubes, and there really is no excuse, is how I feel about it. There's no excuse, and especially for all the reasons that you mentioned. And the most important right now that's imminent is our pandemic situation, and the fact that these viruses have emerged as a result of our exploitation of animals. And that's something we need to remember, isn't it?
It sure is, yes. And so it just brings to the fore how important creating a vegan world is, more than ever. And I mean, I think we all see now that this is incredibly urgent. We really can't wait. And that's why I wrote the book Homo Ahimsa, because I felt like, and I wanted to get it out really quickly, because I wanted to let people know that there is hope. We don't have to live like this. We, the people, can stop pandemics. We can stop animal agriculture, which is the hugest driver of everything that's going wrong in the world. the desertification of land, the rainforest being cut down for cows and for their feed, indigenous people losing their homes for cows and their feed, and that water pollution. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Air pollution, the toxic waste that's coming from animals confined. But, you know, I don't want to say just confined animals, because any kind of animal agriculture, whether it's so-called humane, which there's no such thing, or factory farms, either one, they're all causing incredible harm to the earth and to people, and obviously to animals. We kill billions and billions and billions of land animals and sea animals every single year. And even if it weren't destroying the earth, which it is, it's also harming us spiritually at a very deep level, because the violence that we participate in harms our hearts, our spirits, every part of our body physically as well, but spiritually and morally and ethically, we're going down a very dark path when we live on the dead bodies of tortured animals. So we're at a point now that I talk about in my book. We cannot keep doing this. We have to stop, and we have to stop now, and we have to take a big right turn and end animal agriculture. And the thing that's so, I guess, hopeful and exciting about this is that we can't expect these animal agriculture industries, which are huge and extremely wealthy and making a lot of money on death and destruction, to suddenly go, oh gosh, yeah, we should be nicer. We can't expect that. And we can't expect the pharmaceutical companies to go, oh gosh, yeah, we're doing a lot of damage to animals in labs and flooding the animal market with antibiotics and all these awful things, and decide, you know what, we really should be a lot nicer. You can't expect that. You can't expect the government either, because they have too many interests tied up with big money. But what's so great is that we can change it all by simply not buying their products. That's our power. And it's that simple. And like you said, there's lots of products out there now that are vegan. There's lots of cookbooks. I mean, thousands of cookbooks now. And there really is no reason not to go vegan. It's better for you. You're going to be healthier. You're going to feel an inner peace that you never felt before, from knowing that you're eating without doing harm. When you look at your plate, you know there's no one on there who died, you know, and suffered and was killed in horrible ways just so you could have a hamburger or something. So we've got this power. We've got lots of alternatives, like you said, all the different milks. There's no reason to drink dairy now, and certainly no reason to eat eggs, which are also damaging to our health and our spirits. So it's time. The time is up. We've got to do this. And I think the virus that we're all experiencing right now is a wake-up call. I mean, huge wake-up call. It is saying, okay, fine, wear masks, don't wear masks, whatever you think, but above all, and animal agriculture don't buy their products. And we will see such a change come over this world. It will be amazing, not just a change in the nature, which will begin to regenerate. I mean, we're talking about I think 80% or more of all arable land is being used to raise animals and their feed. Just imagine if that was no longer used for that. There would be enough land to grow food for people and to rewild the planet. There'd be room for the wild animals who are now going extinct to repopulate and get their homes back. So yeah, so that's that I could go on and on, but yes.
Well, there's a lot. There's
definitely
a lot to unpack already there. You mentioned, doing the least harm, right? And I think that harkens back to the original definition of veganism, as that, just by being alive, we step on bugs and we do things, but intentionally we can live this lifestyle of trying to do the least harm, right? And there's currently a boycott meat campaign. I was just listening to Jane Unchained this morning. They were talking about the racist implications also of animal agriculture, and now with all the infected workers in the slaughterhouses, right? And potentially contaminating the meat products that are going into the grocery stores. So, I think the wake up is coming from a lot of different angles. And, I agree with you. I think this is the ultimate karma. Like, this is the planet saying, okay, I have had it with you people. Like, you guys have destroyed pretty much everything at this point, and you just seem hell-bent on continuing with torturing these precious innocent beings. So you got to go. But we do have the power, as you mentioned. The power is in our hands to make better consumer choices and to try to awaken our friends and families to the change. Were you able to reconcile this whole new situation with your family at some point?
Well, it's interesting. That's my veganism was always considered a phase for decades and decades. So my parents never did become vegan, and sadly they actually lived pretty long, but they did die of heart disease, which I believe they could have prevented, but hard to say. But I have one sister who is vegan, and that is really wonderful. And my kids are close to that.
So I recently listened to Dr. Silas Rao, who's organizing Vegan 2026. And that's where I found you, actually, because he was talking about Homo Ahimsa. So the idea that, well, why don't you explain it? What is Homo Ahimsa?
Okay. Yeah, Silas is working towards the same thing that I am, which is creating a vegan world, and he has set the date at 2026. That's not very long from now, but he's right. We don't have a lot of time. And one of the things that I talk about in my book, Homo Ahimsa, which looks like this, is I list, probably 10 or 11 different groups: the United Nations, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature's Biodiversity, Unifying Fields Foundation, etc., and Silas, all talking about how little time we have left to turn this ship around that we're on. And Silas agrees with me that it's totally up to us as individual human beings. And the animals haven't done this damage. We've done it. Homo sapiens has done it. and Homo sapiens can't fix it, because Homo sapiens has been mired in the concept of domination for at least 10,000 years, as far as we know. When you look at anthropological studies, it appears that before animal agriculture, there was no war, no pandemics, and people, I'm sure, did eat some meat, but it was mostly eating plants. It's a lot simpler and healthier. And so, but then people, Homo sapiens, invented animal agriculture. They invented the idea of dominating animals, breeding them to create new creatures and confining them. And then how cruel is that, to confine an animal and then kill that animal who's absolutely defenseless, cannot run away from you, so, or defend themselves. So this has been going on for 10,000 years, approximately, as far as we know. And this whole idea of domination changed us in ways very deep, spiritually, ethically, morally, and physically even, because the more aggressive people kind of rose to places of power. We ended up with kings, wars, and domination of women, domination of marginalized people, and slavery, and in all of the awful, awful things in our history. So what we're talking about now is actually changing ourselves, not so much changing ourselves, but going to our inner core, our true nature as peaceful, loving, nonviolent creatures, which I called Homo Ahimsa. I kind of introduced that concept in my Peace to All Beings book. And that book, I wrote it when things weren't, I mean, they were dire and awful for the animals, but wasn't as urgent as it is now. So I started thinking, boy, you know, I need to expand that concept and get it out there that we, as Homo Ahimsa, we cannot solve these problems. We have got to open up to our true nature as Homo Ahimsa. And Silas kind of liked that too, because he was talking about switching from Homo sapiens to kind of a metamorphosizing into the butterfly that he talks about, using the annihilation that's going on right now, kind of the way a butterfly or a caterpillar does when they go into a cocoon. Everything, all the cells just kind of turn into goo, and they call that imaginal cells. And I think that's what's happening to us now. We're just like swimming in this goo of destruction. And out of that, we do have the spiritual power and the love to come out as butterflies. But we got to do it. We got to make that choice. And we do have that choice to do that. So
can we define ahimsa as well? Because as a yogi, I understand
yes.
ahimsa, but probably people don't know what that word is.
Thank you. Yeah, I always forget to do that. Ahimsa is the Sanskrit word. It literally means non-harm. Himsa means harm, and ahimsa means non-harm. It's the vow that Gandhi took. And it's a Jain vow, Jain religion vow. And it's one of the most beautiful concepts, I think, that have ever been conceived of by human beings, because it literally means non-harm, non-violence, and a larger explanation of it is loving kindness, love for all life, and it includes all life. not just human beings, which so many religions just focus on human beings. But the Jains, they've had animal hospitals for centuries and gone so far as to sweep in front of themselves in order not to step on bugs, which we all do accidentally, even if we try not to, and wear masks sometimes to keep from inhaling bugs that are so tiny we can't even see them. So they've really led the way on Ahimsa. But that's why I love that word so much. It's not Latin like Homo sapiens is, but that's okay, because, you know, we've got to be radical here. We have got to switch gears in a big way.
So it kind of combines Latin and Sanskrit, two ancient.
Right, which I also love that too. Yeah. A fellow named Yuval Noah Harari wrote a book called Homo Deus, and that was another impetus for me. When I read that book, my daughter said, "You got to read this. It's chilling, absolutely chilling." He talks about the technocracy, the technology that is moving towards, what's the word, putting us together with machines, basically, and computers, and mind melding, I guess, us with machines. And there's a lot of talk about that, a lot of interesting theories about that. And we can't let that happen. I mean, we would no longer be Homo sapiens or Homo Ahimsa. So we have to be extremely alert for any kind of technology that is attempting to take away our freedom, take away our rights, and unenable us to fully express ourselves as who we really are, which is what my subtitle is, who we really are, Homo Ahimsa. That's who we really are. Why else would we have the golden rule? How would we have invented that or thought it up if we didn't have a deep desire inside to do no harm and to do unto others as we would have them do unto us? Almost every religion that I know of has some version of the golden rule, and that's their highest ideal. And so if that's our highest ideal, hey, let's do it now. You know, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Let's live it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I know people who ascribe to the Sutras of Patanjali, for example, who understand ahimsa from the perspective of, when you're practicing yoga, you do no harm to yourself. Like, it's not an ego thing. We're not competing. We're honoring our body where it is. But for some reason, that doesn't extend outward into the world. I mean, a lot of people seem to have, that I know, are definitely concerned about environment and concerned about, animals maybe buying humane meat, what they consider to be, they've been told is humane meat. But I think, and I know Christian people who, hi doggies, who they have something to say too, who are thou shalt not kill and all of that. But for some reason that doesn't extend to animals. It's really interesting. And I wonder if part of that is just because people haven't known what's going on. It's all so secretive, and it's all part of kind of the corporate culture, the for-profit machine that just wants us to consume and leads us to believe that we need this product. So really, as Will Tuttle talks about, being vegan is about liberating yourself from that old headspace, right?
Right, yeah. And he talks a lot about the domination paradigm. And of course, that's where the golden rule gets messed with, because I think a lot of people, when they hear it, they go, yes, I need to be nicer to my friends and other people. I need to not be racist and all these things. But they're not understanding that the core of that domination is infiltrated. It has infiltrated all our thoughts. And we have to question all our own thoughts and everything in the news, for sure, because it's all based on that. We were raised in a domination culture. It's at schools, at churches, everything was infiltrated by that concept. And so what we're doing, we're literally changing the world by saying, we're not going to be dominators anymore. We're going to be partners with all creatures. But you're so right. I think the domination paradigm has allowed people to say, well, they're just animals. They're here for us to use however we want. God put them here for us to eat and to use in experiments and to use to entertain us and all that. And so people look at animals with a filter, like, that's a cow. No, that's your sister. and she has a personality, and she loves her babies, and she doesn't want her babies taken away from her. And that's a chicken, and she's a mother, and she wants to have her babies under her wings where she can protect them and have room to run and dust bathe and jump into the trees and roost up there where they used to in the jungles. And so because of the domination concept that somehow human beings can rule the world, well, look what we've done. I guess not. I guess we can't, because we don't really do a very good job of it. We can ruin the world, but we can't rule the world. And so it's time for all people to look around and see, okay, all the damage that we're talking about, we did. Not bears, not dogs. Nobody did that but us. And so what does that tell us? We can fix it. We did the damage, we can fix it. And that's a beautiful, hopeful message that I'm really trying to communicate with people about. But also, we got to get busy. And I shouldn't say it like that, like we haven't done anything, because there are some amazing miracle workers out there doing wonderful, wonderful things. So there's a lot of hope. I mean, there's more animal sanctuaries every day, more people taking in rescued animals. There's more and more people becoming vegan, more and more people eating less meat and working on becoming vegan. There's a lot of hope, a lot of progress being made. So yeah, I think we can do it, but I wanted to kind of sound the alarm. We can't wait. We really can't wait. We got to keep this momentum going and get it speeding up. But the main thing is to understand it's up to us. Can't wait for governments and corporations. They're not going to fix this. We got to do it.
Right.
So, but that's very empowering.
Well, that is, and it's also part, I think, of the liberation, because I think, you know, the dominator culture, the patriarchy, has taught us to always bow to authority, right? To wait for the authoritarians, whoever's in charge, to tell us what to do. Now, you know, we are in an interesting situation with the COVID, and as you and I talked about earlier, in Canada, we have a national health program, and we have leadership from our provincial health authority. And then these people are they're experts in their field, right? So they have scientific knowledge, they come at it from a scientific basis. And what we're seeing is that our government, certainly in British Columbia, our government has kind of stepped aside and said, here's your health authority figure. She's an expert. Let's listen to her. And they're taking guidance from the health authority, which I think is a really interesting thing. I was sort of surprised at the extent that this is happening and how the governments are just kind of supporting us to get through it and to rebuild together. And so, but they've sort of, you know, you always hear that they never surrender power. They haven't really surrendered their power, but we're in this predicament that's it's so dire that they've actually stepped aside, which I think is kind of different from what you guys are dealing with. So ultimately, you know, the attitude here is we've got to protect each other, and we've got to do that by listening to the experts in health to teach us how to do that, to protect each other. But then, you know, ultimately, unfortunately, we're not getting the vegan message from them. That's one piece that's really missing is they'll occasionally mention that it's a zoonotic disease, but that's, you know, that's, again, it's a word that it kind of goes in and out. You don't really think about what the context of that is. But now we're hearing there's a swine flu outbreak somewhere. There's another, what was it? Another something I heard about from China, and you know, and these diseases are festering and could explode in any country, anywhere that's doing this intensified animal agriculture, right? So, you know, ultimately, I agree with you that the power is with us. We have to say, no, I'm not going to participate in that, and it's up to us to spread the word. But then we get challenged with that we're the ones promoting the cult, you know, we're the ones that are trying to convert everybody. And have you come across that? I find that part really disheartening, because that's certainly not what I'm trying to do.
You mean convincing people to go vegan?
Well, or being accused that I'm trying to convert people to some kind of a cult. I don't know how to deal with that one.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and it's this kind of goes back to the same thing of questioning our own thoughts, understanding that we have been programmed. We've all been programmed from birth, basically, to eat meat and to ignore the plight of the animals, and not even think about it or talk about it, and kind of, you know, well, yeah, the environment's in trouble, but, you know, there's all these groups working on it, so, you know, I don't need to worry about it, and not even see the connection between the environment and animal agriculture, because it's all kind of separated out, and kind of like the way we look at doctors. Well, I have heart disease, so I go to a heart doctor. Well, the environment's in trouble, so we'll let Sierra Club handle that. And I'll just go about my life. But now I think as vegans, we're seeing that all these issues are connected so intricately, and that this is really the root of it, is this domination of animals and people that has been around for so long. We don't even know we've got all those programs in our head. And so through prayer and meditation and inner work, we can peel some of that away. But if you're talking to somebody who hasn't done that work, it's difficult, because they're still dealing with programs, and they're like saying, well, you have to eat meat, you know? I mean, that's what I've always been told. And it's just part of our culture and all these things. And it's because they haven't questioned that narrative in their head that they got, you know, when they were little kids. And, you know, you go back to the old, you know, story of, if you put a child in a crib with a bunny and an apple, they're gonna be hungry for the apple. Not that a baby could really chew into an apple, but it's you know what the point is, that they would pet the bunny. They wouldn't salivate over the bunny and go, oh boy, you know, that's my dinner. So we in our hearts, we love animals. We don't want to dominate them. And I think we have to be, I just said we're in a hurry, but we also have to be patient with people and understand we can't railroad them. If they're too far back from understanding that they've been programmed, then it's going to take little steps for them. However, the more of us who demonstrate how to live in a vegan, nonviolent, ahimsa way, then the more normalized it will become, which is what Salish talks about, taking normalized violence and changing it, transforming it to normalize nonviolence. And I mean, who wouldn't want that? But what I think one thing that that we're trying to do is get it through to especially people of faith who do understand the value of world peace. I mean, every holiday in December, we're all talking about peace on earth, right? Everybody wants that. And so it's not like it's a foreign idea. It's just connecting the dots. We can't have peace on earth if we're committing war against animals all the time. We can't have peace on earth if we're enslaving people and if we're, dominating women and people of color. So we've got to get that. So, and I think for me, when I'm talking to people, one of my main starting points is to ask them lots and lots of questions to try to figure out where they are mentally as far as the programs that are running through their head, so that you can find common ground. You can always find common ground and then go from there. Like if they really love their dogs, and I think dogs are major ambassadors for a vegan world, even though a lot of them aren't vegan, some of them are, but in the sense that they're the connection for a lot of people to animals, and I should say cats as well, because they show people that animals do have personalities and feelings. If you have a dog or a cat, there's no doubt in your mind. And so if they're real cat or dog lovers, that can be a great place to start with. Yeah, and so, pigs are a lot like dogs. They think they're a little bit smarter. They actually have saved people's lives. Some people who have been drowning, and this one little boy I know of, I don't know the boy, but the story, the pig jumped in and saved the boy from drowning. And you can't even imagine because their legs are so little, but somehow he did that. That's a lot of logical thinking and compassion in that one little pig. And stories like that, I think, really can connect with people's hearts and help them see that, oh, wow, I just ate ham, and that was a pig that could have saved that little boy, You never know, but find common ground, and we've got to up our work on reaching out to these people. But I will say this, that we need to reach out to the most open people, because one of the main goals right now, because things are so urgent, is to get as many people who are already open to go ahead, take the vegan challenge, help us build this vegan world. Go to Silish's website and see all the different committees that are forming around the creating a vegan economy, vegan governance, small group governance, which is sociocratic. It's not, what's the word? It's not,
Hierarchical?
thank you, hierarchical. Yeah, we've got to get totally away from hierarchy, because hierarchy breeds patriarchy, which breeds domination. So,
sorry,
go ahead.
I'm organizing with someone from the Vegan World 2026 for an interview as well. So,
Oh, great.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good
And
deal.
I just want to say too that, you know, with what you were saying about finding the common ground, and I think sometimes when I feel like I've established that and I just kind of plant that seed, right? Like, oh, well, you know, yeah, fish feel pain as well, or, you know, fish are actually
Right.
more intelligent than we previously realized. But sometimes I feel like that's enough, you know, and then I hope
Yeah.
that the next vegan comes along and maybe pours a little water on that seed, right? And
Exactly.
yeah,
That's exactly how it happens. Yeah.
because sometimes,
Yeah.
because you
I
don't
mean,
want to overwhelm people with, and then they just shut off, right?
right. Or if you are, um, challenging their belief system in their face, they're going to shut down. They're not going to hear what you say. So, yeah, so it's really important to kind of see them,
Right.
just like we see the animals, we see who they are. We need to also see people who aren't vegan yet, see who they are, where their heart is, what their struggles are, what um, their they could be out of a job because of this COVID thing, and really hungry, which is another thing that Silas's group is doing, is working on plans to feed the growing number of hungry people vegan food. So I mean, it's wonderful. So yes. So yeah, there's lots of great things going on. We're moving in the right direction.
We are, and as we're recording this, we're moving towards noon, which is when I think you, along with Will and Madeline Tuttle, created the Circle of Compassion and a prayer.
Right.
Every
Right.
noon.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. Is it? We got 2 minutes, and then we'll say it. But yes, our prayer has gone out around the world to thousands and thousands of people, and it's translated into over, I think, near 30 languages, maybe more than that now. And it's all on the website, circleofcompassion.org. So the idea is to send out this energy field of love and compassion to all beings, and with enough people that it actually, I mean, some people who may not believe in the power of prayer may think it sounds a little silly, but there's a lot of proof, actually, from lots of studies that show that we really do have an energy field that we project. And if it's negative energy, when we walk into a room, people feel that, and dogs feel that. If we, and cats and other companions, animal companions, but if we, horses, I can go on and on. But if we walk into a room with positive energy and prayerful, loving energy, everyone's going to feel that. They may not understand exactly what it is, but they will feel it. It's a very powerful force, maybe the most powerful force in the universe. So, we just kind of made it a short, sweet vision. It's really a vision because we wanted it to feel comfortable to people of all religions and atheists as well, who understand the power of energy fields. They can also say these words. And of course, you can modify it. And it's now noon. So what we say is compassion, encircles the earth for all beings everywhere. And so it is. So yeah, so that's what we say every day at noon. And of course, if you forget or you miss it, any time is fine. And or all day long. Or anytime you think of it. So yeah, it's basically what we're saying is we're envisioning the world embraced by compassion. And we really believe that that every time it is repeated by a human being, and maybe animals are repeating it, we don't know, that it expands that compassion, which once that expands, that can never retract. It's just going to keep growing. So it cannot be damaged or destroyed in any way, just because it's love. So yeah, I love that. And I also have prayer flags that my sister actually created. And so those are flying around the world as well, with the same kind of idea. I was seeing all the wonderful peace prayer flags that people hang, those, strings of flags with the prayers on them. And I thought animals need theirs. So we made one, and so those are flying all over. And the idea is that as they are blown by the wind, they kind of disintegrate after a while because they're made of cotton, and they, the weather and everything deteriorates them. But that just keeps, the prayer just keeps spreading. So in miraculous ways. So, and we definitely need miracles right now. So.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think quantum physics and stuff is proving that, that there's more to what's going on than what we know, and that energy is, everything. And certainly the thoughts that we put into the world, we have to think something, and then it can become a reality, right? And so for me, it's also just nice to know that at least once a day I can sort of feel connected to a lot of other like-minded individuals, because it can be really isolating to be vegan. And so for people who are feeling that way, there's the Worldwide Prayer Circle for Animals. Right. And where do people find that?
That's that Facebook. I think you had it. You had the link to it. Do you want it? Can you put that in the chat? Or
I have to say I had a bit of a hard time finding it, but I there's a lot of, when you search for Circle of Compassion, a whole bunch of different things come up. But yes, I did find the link, and I'll put it in the notes. And so is that like a communication space, or?
It's we decided that everybody had lots of things they wanted to pray for. And, individual animals, companion animals that were living with them who might be sick, and also, large groups of animals who are suffering, like the bear biles, the bear bile farm bears, the dolphins in aquariums, just any group of animals that somebody wanted to pray for. We prayed a lot for the dairy cows that were being rescued in Hawaii, so that they could all find homes because the dairy was closing. Alexandra Rupert Weber coordinated that, and that was an amazing thing. So it's a Facebook where people can go and pray with us about different issues. I post a weekly prayer every week about a different issue, sometimes a current event, sometimes a holiday or something, like Martin Luther King Day. He had some amazing quotes and things to say about animals and animal agriculture and how we had to eliminate it. And anyway, but there's lots of people on there, and it's a wonderful feeling to be connected, like you said, and talk back and forth about, yes, your little dog is sick and we're all praying for him or her, and and then watch to see the dog gets better, we hope. And so that's a really good feeling. And then also these bigger issues that come up, cockfighting. I mean, there's zillions of issues, right?
Right.
And so if you feel like, oh my gosh, we've got to pray for this, please join me. Just post it, not with real awful images, but just a request. Hey, this is happening to these animals. Please pray for them. And it's so powerful to do that. And it's like, kind of like we're all holding hands.
Right. Yeah.
And in this digital world where we can't all be together in person, and because not everyone in the world is vegan, we are, like you said, we need each other. So it's a great place. And of course, you don't have to be vegan to be on that Facebook. You're more than welcome to join it. And of course, you will learn more about veganism on there. But yes, if you have any issues at all that you want us to pray for, please join us. And
that's wonderful. And I'm thinking of something, actually. I'm not sure if you've heard recently about Regan Russell.
Yes. Yeah, we did post a prayer, for memorial prayer for her on there several weeks ago. And I believe there's a memorial video that Lisa Levinson is going to be posting. So we'll put that on there. And it'll also be on the Vegan Spirituality Facebook. And I will, it'll be also in our Interfaith Vegan Coalition newsletter too. The video, I mean. But yes, it's tragedy, terrible tragedy in your country, up there in Canada. So yeah, we were all heartbroken.
Like a day or two after a provincial ag gag bill was passed.
Right.
So I think the investigation is still going on, but from what it sounds like, I mean, it seems like it was intentional. I don't want to put myself out there saying that, but from what I can gather, which makes it all the more horrible.
Yes.
This woman, and she was an elder woman who, I saw a documentary yesterday, and they have clippings from various. She's been an activist about as long as you have, right? And
many years. Yeah.
And she said the first thing she learned about was the seal hunt, and she heard that people were clubbing seals. So she just thought, that's outrageous. Why would anybody do that? And she made a sign, and she went outside of downtown, and she stood with this sign, and she thought, well, that'll solve it. Once people know about this, surely it will stop, right? So, yeah, beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting, because that was one of the first issues. Yeah, that was one of the first issues that I was interested in too, way back. Yeah, Greenpeace revealed that, and the pictures, and and that's when you learn, okay, it's not going to happen overnight, because you think, that's all we need is to let people know and it'll be over. But it's still going on.
It's still going on. It's still going on. Yeah.
We got the seal for several countries banned the sale of it, and it's still going on. So I think tourism is probably the way to go with that, making it a tourist thing, even though that would bother the seals to have tourists there. At least they would be able to live. And so if they can figure out a way to do that and make as much money and do it, in a way that doesn't frighten the seals into the ocean. So,
that's line, right? Like, I think, all of these jobs that people have to do, or they feel that they have to do because they want to support their family and be a provider. And so all these people working in the slaughterhouses, and all these people doing these horrible jobs inside the factory farms, and the clubbing of seals, and the killing of whales, and the draining the oceans of shrimp and fish. I wonder if there wasn't money attached to that, how would people still do it? I,
Yeah, that's a good question. That really is. One of the things I talk about in Homo Ahimsa is, are we basically violent creatures? And my conclusion is that we're not, but that we've been taught that we are. And we need to get over that. But yes, some people, I think, believe that's the only way to survive, is to engage in violent behavior, whether it's criminal, I mean, legally criminal, or criminally awful to animals, but legal. But one proof of that, I think, that we're not basically violent people is slaughterhouse workers. They have a high incidence of spousal abuse and drug addiction and alcoholism. And I think that's because they can't handle the violence that they have to do every day. And so they kind of lose their minds, and just, the violence just takes them over in a very dark way. And I can kind of imagine if I had to cut someone's throat, like every 3 seconds, I think it is, something like that, depending on the animal. With chickens, it's, I think, much, much faster than that. How could you go home and be at peace, You'd have so much anguish in your heart and so much guilt and stress. But I guess my point is, I think that's proof that we are kind at heart, and that it hurts us to have to do something violent. And so I think that's kind of pretty good proof of that. Mm-hmm. And there's, of course, lots of other indications too. But yeah, so in one of the points I make in my book is, okay, let's question that we're violent in nature. Let's say we're not violent in nature, that we're really peace-loving, and there's so many indications of that. Well, if so, then let's live that. But that's what we've always wanted, is peace on earth. So, but we can't have it unless we give it to everybody.
Right.
So, yeah.
That seems like a great place to leave this. And thank you, Judy, so much for taking the time and telling us about your book. So it's available through Amazon. Is it available anywhere else by any chance?
Well, I think it's just on Amazon right now. I've got to work on that and figure out how to get it to other venues. But yeah, right now it's just Amazon.
Yeah, some of us are trying to boycott Amazon for a few different
Yes,
reasons.
I know. I looked into self-publishing with some other companies, and it was extremely expensive. Mm. And so I thought, for now, it's kind of like, how do we get through this transition period? I'm looking at this as kind of a transition, and hope eventually to get it into other venues. But, there again, I have to research those, what are their ethics,
right,
and so forth. So, but anyway, it is available both in print form and Kindle. So you can save paper by getting on Kindle, which is good. But yeah, Amazon makes it super easy and inexpensive to publish a book. So yeah. So I definitely compromised myself on that one.
I support the workers. Turn that thing into a worker cooperative, and then we can feel confident. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
There's so much work to be done. I'm gonna go join the Worldwide Prayer Circle, and I'll see you there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so much again. It's really lovely to chat with you.
Well, Janine, it is wonderful to chat with you, and I just appreciate you giving me this chance to talk to everybody. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. This is wonderful. Janine, I think it's great that you're doing this, and because this is how how we're getting the word out is on these YouTubes and podcasts and stuff. And you're a wonderful interviewer. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your insights and questions.
Thank you. I think we all have some inherent talent and ability, and we just got to find it. Now's a good time to do that and spread the word and hope to plant those seeds, right?
Right.
Thank you for your books and your work, and take care, hey?
Okay, you too. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Janine. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for watching. If you learned something, please click the like button. You can also subscribe and hit the little bell icon, and then you'll get a notification whenever I add a new video. I'm currently uploading new interviews about once a week, and I'm hoping to continue with that for as long as I can. Feel free to share this work, and if you're able to contribute at all, I'm available for that through Patreon, where you can donate a small amount every month. Would help me significantly. And I do donate every month to farm sanctuaries directly for the animals. Thank you so much for watching and learning and understanding.